Good. How are you?
I'm fantastic. I'm Wayne with 95 Lil Rock. Nice to meet you.
Well, nice to meet you as well.
Thank you so much for rescheduling. I had a little accident last week that prevented my ability to be here. So
It happens. I've been
story.
there, man. Don't worry about it.
Excellent. So how are things going? Getting ready for all the touring and everything else you guys got going on this year, right?
Pretty much, yeah. Trying to get all the things out of the way so that really because we got with our Maiden in how long? I guess 20 days, 21 days.
Yeah, I was going to say it's right around the corner.
Yeah. And exactly. So, and in the meantime, there are a little bit of, I don't know how you end up working so hard on being this rock and roller rebel lifestyle, but there's always emails. There's always there's always all of that. So so there's some stuff that needs to be taken care of in the next, within the next week, pretty much, to put everything into place for the album release and stuff. But so yeah, no, it's busy times, but good times.
Yeah, because you've done a handful of dates with Maiden in the past. What's it feel like to be actually going on an actual, what is it, 15 dates you're doing with them? So that's pretty much a decent sized run with.
Yeah, it's a full month, because nowadays they play every other day. I think they've earned that pacing.
Right.
Yeah, no, I just, because we get to do it for a bit there in Brazil. I think now I feel kind of free to just enjoy it purely, because first time around, that's the most nervous I've been going on stage since I don't remember when.
Okay.
Since probably before Avatar existed even, and I think that has something to. It was just the fandom of us being fans. Sure. And the role that Iron Maiden play in the world of metal, beyond what we think of them, but what everybody thinks of them, I guess. And also, it was in Brazil, which is such an Iron Maiden place. So It was an intimidation that we felt, a lot of things all at once, and it became incredibly emotional and therefore great. And and once we survived that first show, and we weren't people did not throw rocks, and it was a good time. We were kind of able to enjoy the rest of it, and start to get into the groove of claiming ownership of your time on stage, because that's the challenge with something like that. Yeah, it's great to go on tour with your heroes that have inspired you so much and everything, but that is also this opportunity for the band to be seen and heard, and you kind of have to get over yourself a little bit, and claim ownership, because that is kind of how you make sure that you will deserve the opportunity you've been given,
Right.
So, and I think I'm more there now already, because we got to do that trial run,
Sure.
And
so now doing 15 dates with Maiden isn't as big of a hurdle, mentally, where you're like, okay, these are our heroes, and then
there's less of a question of like, how do you even do that? I kind of have an idea now,
right?
And so now just we'll enjoy it for what it is.
That's fantastic. We're enjoying the new song right now, Captain Goat. Mm-hmm. Very fantastic. What made you guys decide you wanted to do a heavy metal sea shanty?
I think a lot of this album that has a title and a release date, which are both awesome, but it won't let me say it yet.
Okay.
But it all came, in little steps, I think, because so what happens is that Tim came up with the riffs, and coming up with the riffs, there's always a way for me to measure the quality of something like that, is how strong does the vision become.
Sure.
You call it cinematic is the wrong way to say it. Maybe it's psychedelic. That good music, especially when working on music, so you get these instrumentals, doesn't paint pictures in and of itself. A big one, when I realized that's how it works sometimes, was back in the day, was Hail the Apocalypse. And literally, first time I heard that riff, I saw someone standing with a sign on the street saying the end is near and the bombs falling over him and all that. it was a very vivid, okay, I'm there. And with this one, it was a bit trippier, but nevertheless, I had realized at some point that, yeah, I'm in the water.
Okay.
And it came very intuitive, like just listen to the music. I swear the first thing I kind of did working on the vocals was just go, hey ho, hey ho.
Sure.
So the he who knows the whoa, 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 and then just phonetically,
yeah,
almost as speaking in tongue, and suddenly it all made sense. So, and yeah, I think it's indicative of a lot of this album being written like just trusting the subconsciousness, and trusting what's beautiful, and it all comes together at the end and makes sense. And that's kind of in a way what I ended up doing.
Okay.
So yeah. Did that answer your question?
Is that how it is for every song, or like you hear the riff and you see it visually? Or does it?
No, it's not always like that, but it's also because the process, because we are kind of in the band, multiple songwriters. So it's the quickest way to describe it. There's 1 out of 3 guys in the band that, three of us who kind of start songs.
Okay.
And then there's the 5 of us always we finish it together, right? That's kind of the process. And within what that actually means, that can mean a lot of different combinations of how the song is made, right? Am I counting correct? 15 combinations? No, I don't know. Never mind. I didn't get into this business to do math, but multiple possible combinations of how the collective will work on something. And that would also maybe affect like how you get to the point of where the song becomes what it is. Because if I write, if I come up with the guitar parts, and write the instrumental part as well as the vocals, it's so much, yeah, it is just, I don't even know how to put words on it, but there I am inside of my own skull with it in a completely different way than when when somebody else brings something to me and I get to be a fan of just what they did.
Right.
Or, and because that one felt it was already in place, already had the vibe, but sometimes, one of the others, or I come up with something that's like, nah, it has something.
Yeah.
Then you work on it more consciously together and that polishing, robs you of maybe that boom psychedelic, legal psychedelic way of doing things. But instead you get this another sense of building and discovery and the joy of, I don't know even what to compare it to, your kids and you're building with blocks and see how high it goes together with your friend,
Right. Yeah.
So it can be so different depending on what we're doing and how many are involved. Because sometimes I get to figure out 99% of a song before the input, and sometimes I get 1% of a song before it becomes a group activity.
Okay.
So it's all
fluctuates. Cool. And with the way that you go about doing the music and you get that visual, how does that translate to working with Johan Carlin, who's done most of your videos, including Captain Goat?
Yeah, all the good ones.
Right. Yeah. So, like, how much of that vision that you see in your
Lilith.
mind, do you let him know, or does he?
Well, no, we have found. I've learned that. See, I've been in Sweden for a few days, so I have to live with this now. I think that. Thank you very much, Lily. Thank you. Yes, that is working. You don't care. Okay.
It's the feeling that you're leaving soon and wants to get
or she just wants a stick,
Well,
hello. Can I? Okay. Well, you can continue, but I had to gather my thought nonetheless. So you were asked. No, with the Kalyan processes, I come to realize the value of developing a common language with people you work with creatively.
Yeah.
For instance, now there's this girl in Stockholm, Linnea, that we are for this album cycle. It's the first time that we made outfits with her, right?
Oh, okay.
And like she's new to the fold, and in that emailing back and forth, her first sketches was exactly what I asked for, without being anything that I wanted. But I just looked back, everything that she had on the first draft there was, a fully valid interpretation of what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
But then it's like, I see what you did here. However, I meant like this, and because this and that and this and that. And second, third draft, boom, got it, right? And with you one, it's been, over a decade now of doing things together.
Yeah.
So there's always, there's the meeting of like, okay, the song has been picked. What's on your mind, and one of us, both of us, or John also, it's usually three of us who sit there first and talk, like have one of us has something on their mind and we kind of build it from there. And in the case of Captain Goat, it's one of those that is way more literal than maybe what we like there's a goat in the boat,
right?
Like so yeah. And then it has this mythological quality, and it's not all of these that we then expand on and find a fun music video-esque way of doing, in this case, that okay, so because it's a bit Greek mythology, right? Like right. The Charon over the river Styx, if that's how you pronounce those things in English. And yes, and you're bored. That our dog is bored. He heard me talk about this before. No, so then we borrow from different mythologies. Okay, it's a bit Greek, but we don't want to be purely a Greek. So then let's mix it up a bit. So then there's the Norse mythology. Jonas is Loki, a bit more Nordic folklore rather than Norse mythology. It's a different thing. And of course, Henrik is a sexy merman, acting as the siren from Greek mythology there as well. So a bit, mainly Norse and Greek, and a sprinkle of some kind of Germanic folklore in there.
Very cool. Yeah, I picked up on some of that, watching the video, and then it's like, how much of the video influence carries over to the live show? Because I saw in an interview that you're committed to achieving this new era of Avatar that will put everything that has happened up until this point to shame. So then how do you carry that over to a live show, with the stage build up, with everything that you guys do on stage?
Well, it's also a question of like there's so many factors to that we now we said that, so now we have to do that,
right?
But for instance, we just had a discussion of like, okay, how do we bring the goat on the boat to the stage, and Sally's like, well, we have this potential solution, but looking at the venues we will play on this headline run, we could do it 60% of the time. And like, that's dumb. So we're kind of working out options.
Okay.
So it has to be doable on a rock and roll show version of itself.
For the whole show.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. To just how to fit things on and off stage and transport, and which is one of these reasons why we're so fascinated with opera houses, who has an equal amount of stage on each side of the stage, and above and below and behind it. And at some point we need to do a residential in a fancy opera house to really, yes, you're scared of the gates, you're not very brave, to get to do all those crazy things comfortably, because travel around with stuff is can be tricky. So a full-scale recreation of the Captain Goat music video, well, wait for the anniversary show in 10 years, I guess. And we'll figure that out until then. In the meantime, we'll blow your mind in other ways.
Right. And I'm really looking forward to the show, because you guys are coming to town December 2nd, playing the Riviera Theatre, throwing it to that opera house vibe that you were going
for. Sometimes I have the vibe of it, but then we don't get to, no one pays us to stay for a month doing 2 sets per day with all the bells and whistles and 13 carpenters working for us.
Right.
That's part of the challenge.
Doing a residency thing, but
exactly.
You'll be in town in December, and you can't say when the new album's coming out, but I'm guessing it's probably going to be right about the same time you go on your headlining tour. That's my guess. But
it's certainly a guess.
Yeah, it's
that has some rationality to it. You've been pondering it, thinking it,
right?
And it's not dumb, because then you kind of can, if you would do like that, then we have done it like that. Is that suddenly a show would become almost like a release party, and then you really pump the vinyl numbers on early out. So it's some good thinking.
I mean, it's good.
Then you also have the version when schedules clash, and the reality of things means you tour an album for 2 weeks and then it's released.
Yeah.
And you can tell a few days after it actually released that people are like, oh yeah, okay, now we can sing along to this one as well now, you know.
Right.
or you can do it, you know, even a month before, and then it really gets to marinate.
Right.
You know, even for that first show.
Because they've got all the songs beforehand.
So there are different ways of doing it, and I can certainly guarantee that we are doing one of those.
Yeah.
It will either be before, during, or after a tour.
That's fantastic. Johannes, thank you so much for taking the time. I know it's early morning over there in your neck of the woods, so thank you for taking the time, and look forward to seeing you guys in December.
Me too. Looking forward to it a lot, man. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so
much. And for playing this stuff.
Yes.
Have a good one. See ya.
Thank you.